In this episode, I want us to add a third field below date of birth, which is going to ask the user to choose a plan from a list of available plans. So I've already created two new variables called plan and available plans, and the user can choose from free, starter, premium, or business. Okay, so we'll start by changing the name input with form elements, because we'll have more than just input fields in there. Then we'll add another component called base select, which doesn't exist yet. And that component will be referring to the plan variable, which can be chosen from a bunch of options. And those options are defined in the available plans variable. Next, we'll update the label to say select a plan, and we'll remove the type attribute since it's not relevant for select fields. And finally, for the purpose of this tutorial, I want us to display the content of the plan variable at all times. Okay, so let's implement that new base select component. As usual, we start by registering it here, base select. And we'll create it in the component directory, so base select. And instead of starting from scratch, let's copy paste the content of the base input component, because at the end of the day, they're going to look very similar. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is remove that type props and replace it with an options props, which is going to be of type array, which is basically going to be our list of options to choose from. Okay, we also need to replace the input tag with select and close it down here, which means this should now become form select, and the type and value attributes are now irrelevant. As you can see, because we're now using the form select class from the custom form plugin, it automatically added a little drop-down arrow here for us. Okay, next we need to display the options available for our select forms. So we'll do option v4 option in options. And that will create an option for each entry we have in our options array. Now let's give our options a key to please Vue.js, a value to please our server, and a text to please our users. Okay, so let's see if that works. If I go and select a plan and I choose premium, then it also updates the variable. And that's because we kept the input listener here that updates the parent component every time we select a new value. However, if I go back to my app.vue component and I change free to like starter, then save and refresh the page, even though the plan is actually starter, the selected plan doesn't match what we have in the plan variable. Instead, it just takes the first element in our list of options. And that's because we didn't define a binding from the parent to the child component. So let's do that. Let's go back to our base select component. And here we'll say selected option equals value. Now the selected option will always match the contents of that variable provided in vModel. And as you can see, even if I refresh the page, the starter plan is automatically selected. Okay, so now we've done it. We've created a base select component, which design matches the design of our forms. And we've also managed to make it reactive by making it work with vModel. However, there is one last thing I want to do before wrapping up this video. Usually the value of a select option is different to the text that is displayed to the user. And that's because our database and our backend is relying on the value of the option to actually understand what the user chose, but the text might change in the future or might be translated to various languages, etc. So it is actually good practice to distinguish the value and the name of an option. So let's do that. We'll go back to our app.vue component. And here, instead of just having plain strings on our available plans, we'll have objects. And these objects will have a value, which is something that our backend will understand, and a name, which is just to display to our users. And let's do the same for the other options. Okay, and just to make the distinction between value and name a little bit more obvious, let's display the price of the plans to the user. Okay, and let's not forget to update our plan variable so that it matches the value of our options. Now, all we need to do to make that work is go back to our base select component and replace option with option.name for the text displayed to the user. And all of the other references to options should now be option.value. And that's it. Now, if I select premium $10 a month, the plan selected is premium all lowercase, which is a key that our backend can understand. In the next episode, we'll implement our last form element, which is a checkbox field.